Good morning, everybody. It is a Sunday morning. This is Hit and Hustle morning after recap show. I am your host, Greg Flamong. As always, thank you to everyone for tuning in so far. And if you're going to catch this later, this is the recap. This is what we do every morning after the football game. So, if you want to be a part of this, this is a very heavy viewer interactive show. A lot of questions, a lot of comments that we get to throughout the broadcast. So if you like what you see and if you want to be a part of this, again, hit the like button, hit subscribe button, go out and check out irishsportsdaily.com. There's a ton of content out from the game yesterday and everything. Let's get to the good mornings. Rajon, always here. Morning, Greg. For those of us who have only seen highlights, how about a quick overview of the good, the bad, and the ugly? Thanks. First of all, this sounds like you didn't subscribe to the Peacock, and I got to tell you, come on, guys. Subscribe to the Peacock channel. This is how you get the stuff, right? We only get 12 games a year. You got to subscribe to that, all right? But I will go over it because I didn't get the chance. I wasn't on the post game yesterday. I wasn't on the instant reaction because we had soccer. So I'll talk about that. Let's see. Brian Dembo, good morning. Thank you very much for joining. Let's see. Notre Dame for life. Good morning, Greg and Irish Nation. Can Reese please tell Drew how to look for the running back out of the backfield? Countless times he had the running back open but never looked their way. It was a bit of a problem yesterday. We're going to get into that. Not really looking for anyone other than the Michael Mayer. So that was not great. Oh yeah. Seijin Park, going to stay up late for this one. Are you in Korea? You might. Forgive me if it's not a Korean last name, but it sounds like a Korean last name. So if so, I appreciate you, man. That's awesome. It's very nice. Deborah Thomas, good morning and go Irish. Brian Dembo says, I like the Peacock pregame. That's what NBC should do every game. It might be. I wonder if it's on Peacock every game. It might be, right? I would go to check that out. Call me an ostrich, no Peacock. Oh, let's all give it up for Seijin Park here in Korea, listening to the morning after recap, man. I appreciate that, man or woman, I don't know, but thank you for joining us. That's very cool. Big time echo. I don't know. There shouldn't be an echo. Does anyone else have that? Anyone else have an echo? Let me know. I'll try to fix it if there's an echo in the stream, but if not, we'll get going here. All right. So, overview of the game. I think a lot of people were hoping for a fast start, right? There was a lot of talk about Notre Dame hasn't done well in the first quarter of games, and they definitely got a fast start yesterday. They received the opening kickoff and went down and scored. They went down and scored a touchdown right off the bat, and that's obviously a great start for the team, and it was a setup, everything. Notre Dame got a bunch of block punts from Isaiah Foskey that then they couldn't pay off. So Chris, it doesn't sound like there's an echo for anybody else, so maybe it's just your computer. Oh, okay, cool. All right, no echo. Let's get going. All right, so they got the block punts. Scored 23 points in the first quarter. They're up 23-7. Without the long run that UNLV had, they had an explosive. I think it was their second possession. They had a huge explosive run down to like the 3-yard line. And they scored a touchdown off of that. Beyond that, they couldn't do anything on offense. So that was a great start. And it seemed like this was going to be one of those, okay, you're up 35-7 or whatever it is at the end of the first quarter and in the first half. Could have been 42-7, could have been 50-7, honestly. And it seemed like that's what it was going to be. And it was going to be kind of a, one of those games, Angeli, everyone I think was thinking like Steve Angeli is going to get a lot of run in this game. That's not what happened. They Notre Dame was kind of goofing around, couldn't score touchdowns in the red zone with the short fields and everything. Drew Pine was missing a ton of throws, which is obviously not what you want. And I think that eventually became the theme of the game. It went from, Notre Dame's clicking, UNLV is not good, they can't do anything, Notre Dame's going to put up a bunch of points, to, hey, why aren't we scoring more? What's going on? Like we're not putting the ball in the end zone. We're missing a lot, and and I think that's quickly that became the theme of the night, or the day, I should say, and that's where it went. I think for whatever reason, Drew Pine kind of picked up where he left off against Stanford. He was kind of zoning in on Michael Mayer all the time. He wasn't seeing the full field. He was not accurate. He was missing throws. I think he missed Braden Lindsey, not just on throws. Like he had a clear, like a deep ball to Braden Lindsey that he throws out of the end zone, right? And maybe there was a wind problem. It was very windy yesterday. You could see how it affected the field goals and everything. And Blake Grupe, he was able to play the wind a couple times. And then another time he was not able to, but that was kind of an ugly kick. I don't think that was a wind problem. I don't think he hit it very clean. So that's where it was. And that's kind of, how it was into the second half, where it got to the point where Notre Dame said, we're not going to throw it anymore. And they just ran it. And the only passes they threw were the little pop passes that are basically runs. Because it's behind the line of scrimmage. So that's kind of where it went. And so I think that's why I think after the game and, on Twitter and everything, it was all consistently getting, it was consistently Reese Pine discussion, right? And it's unfortunate because of the way the game started. It could have been just a positive, team looks good, bounce back kind of game. And that's not what it was. So we'll get into that. So that's kind of the good and bad of the ugly of it. Defensively, they were playing really well until UNLV made a change at quarterback, and then the defense just kind of stopped making plays. They give up these quarterback scrambles. They give up these wide receiver screens. It wasn't great at the end of the game. But they had done so well earlier, it just kind of didn't really matter. It was more like, could this lead to something that leads to something bad, right? And obviously the onside kick happens, and Notre Dame recovers it and then goes on to score a touchdown. And I think that's important. Like if UNLV had recovered that, then people would have started to get nervous because UNLV was moving the ball at that point. But they didn't, and Notre Dame kind of sealed up the game. And so that's kind of where it is. So, Rajon, that's kind of the good and bad of the ugly of it. We can get to the comments. This is from Steven, the mortgage man. It's pretty clear Marcus Freeman is in over his head. It is really not his fault. Every time Notre Dame hires one of these head coaches without experience, they drown in the shallow end of the pool. Okay. I don't agree with that, but that's fine. We don't have to agree, because here's why, Steven, and you can respond in the comments if you like. You look at the Notre Dame football team. You look at every other position, right? You look at the offensive line, the running backs, the receivers, everything, the play of all of that stuff. There is one difference in this team than it has been in the previous, let's say, 5 or 6 teams, right? And it's quarterback play. In my opinion, okay, the defense is generally what they've been. The offense is generally what they've been. The offensive line is good. The running game is good. The offensive line is giving up no pressures, right? Notre Dame dropped back 31 times yesterday, clean pocket on 28 of them. So, to me, that's a good offensive line, right? And we talk about receivers all the time. It's not like there's a bunch of drops there. The only receiver on the football team that is dropping passes is Lorenzo Styles, and he's, seen as their best wideout, and he's the only one dropping passes, right? Everyone else is dropping passes. I mean, everyone else is catching the balls that come to them. Obviously, Michael Mayer is playing well. The defense hasn't been great, but they're not terrible, right? 21 points is the most they've given up all year. 21 points. So, that's not awful. There's one deficiency on this team, and it's at the quarterback position. And so that's just a fact, in my opinion. It's not to go in on Pine or anything. It's just the fact of the matter. And we can get into some of the stats. Deborah, I think that's probably true. I mean, I think that's correct. I mean, they would have put him in yesterday. They didn't want to throw the ball. I mean, that's evident, right? In the second half, in the later part of the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, they didn't want to throw it. They wouldn't throw it. Now, granted, they were it was okay because they were running it well, and then Logan Diggs had a huge had a huge second half, and that's great. And the offensive line did well. So I don't I don't see them going to Angeli unless Pine is hurt, and that's I think that's correct, and I think that's fair to say. So let's see, Rajon. Presser said last night that this team has been coached into mediocrity. Do you agree? I didn't hear what he said, so I don't know. Like, I don't really want to respond without hearing it. As presented right here, I don't think that's true. I mean, I don't know. I just think everything looks so much better if your quarterback is playing well, right? I just don't. I just don't think that's right. Like, I think I don't think the offensive line is mediocre. I don't think Notre Dame has mediocre pieces on offense. I don't. Like, Michael Mayer is obviously not. Braden Lenzy would be having a huge season if he could be hit with passes. Like, I just don't think you can't put a mediocre moniker on a bunch of guys who aren't getting what they need from quarterback. I just don't think that's fair. And Notre Dame's defense is somewhere in the 30s as far as nationally and all those other things, various metrics and all that stuff. We went over it last week. Me and Jamie did. I don't think that's mediocre. It's above average. I mean, it's like it's above average. It's good. It's not great, right? But I don't know. Like, I don't know that there's a bunch of stars on defense either. Like, you have Foskey, who had a good game yesterday, but you're not getting great play at linebacker, obviously. And they were never great. Like, last year, it's not like they were great. The safeties last year were not great. The corners last year were not great. So I don't know that they don't have Kyle Hamilton, someone like that, to kind of lift up the back end. They don't have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, right? They don't have that kind of guy. I don't know that no one's playing great, but no one's playing awful either. So I don't know. I think again, I don't want to go in on Tim's what he said because I didn't hear it, right? So I'm just answering what's presented that Rajon is presenting to me here. I don't think that it's mediocrity. I don't think that's what it is. If this game was meant to be like 56-7 at halftime, and I just don't think anyone would say, right? The Stanford game is not meant to be 16-14. It's just not. And so I don't know. I mean, it's kind of unfair to the other guys, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. Chris, yeah, they started running the clock out with 6 minutes left in the third. That's true. Like, that's what happened. There's no other way to see that. I think Sajin Park, it's a good point. With slightly above average quarterback play, Notre Dame is 6-1. I think that's absolutely true. I don't think there's any question about that. No question. All right. Good luck, Chuck. Marcus Freeman is in over his head. Seeing true side when with Pine got hurt. The doctors took him out. That man will do whatever to win because he's scared to lose again. He's coaching scared. No real faith in his team. Okay. I don't agree. And I don't really want to go into all that. I don't agree with that. So that is your opinion. That's fine. No problem. Tony Crapful, maybe saving Angeli's red shirt unless absolutely necessary. Seems dumb. What else could it be? I think I don't think they think that they would get markedly better play out of Angeli. And I think that that's just what it is. Like, I don't think they would think, I don't think they think the play would drastically improve. And there is a higher downside risk with Angeli, frankly, because he's a freshman who's never played real snaps. Like to me, that's not a fix. That's you're trying to fix bad play by one player by putting in another player who may or may not be ready to go. And that's not fair to Angeli either. You don't want to put him in a bad position. That's not fair to him. Like he was a third team quarterback. He is not meant to be the savior to the problems that are the Notre Dame offense, especially when you're going into Syracuse and Clemson. You don't want a guy who's never taken snaps before, right? They need to get Drew Pine playing better. That's what they need to do. That is their job. He is the better option, and they need to get him going. The player that played against BYU, the player that played against North Carolina is in there somewhere. They need to find him on a more consistent basis. Now, granted, he's not going to be a 78% passer all the time, but he needs to be a 65% passer. There's no reason that can't happen. That's what they need to do. They need to get him ready. Like it's not up to Steve Angeli to save this offense. It isn't. He's not ready to do that. It's pretty clear because they won't put him in the game, right? There's no way Tommy Rees would be like, you know what? The way Drew Pine's playing, we can't play this guy Steve Angeli who's killing it in practice. No way. Like I just don't think he's ready yet. And that's true. Let's see. Didn't watch game under Peacock. Didn't order Peacock one time. I was glad to have a fall wedding, so I didn't have to. But watched the stat line, knew exactly what was going on and what was being said. Okay, I watched the game. You only get 12 games, man. You only get 12. You can't take them for granted, in my opinion. PK needs to play more. Prince Collie, I think that is. Honestly, I don't know, man. He when he's in there, he doesn't look awesome. He doesn't look great. That's all I'll say. But he's continuing to get in games, and that's fine. Thanks for answering me. Rajon said, thanks for answering. It surprised me he said it. I'll rephrase. Do you think this team has been well coached thus far? Are you happy with the coaching? So that's a good question, right? Like that is a good question. I think this is why I think the running backs are well coached. Let's go by position. I think the running backs are well coached. I think the receivers are doing a pretty good job. I have to say, I think they've been given kind of like a raw deal. I think the tight ends are well coached. I think the offensive line is well coached. I think they're doing a really good job. They've since second half of Cal, they've been really good. I think they've done a really good job. Drew Pine has clean pockets. It'd be one thing if he was getting pressured all the time, but that's not what we're seeing. Jack Cohen will be cooking with these guys. All right, so that's the offense. The defensive line, the only thing is with Foskey, right? And I think the defensive line would be a lot better than if they were doing more creative things. Like I think if Marcus Freeman was the defensive coordinator, I think we'd think differently about the defensive line, right? Because Riley Mills is playing well. Jason Adamalola is playing well. Howard Cross is playing well. Nana's playing well. So you got a bunch of like lower pieces. Rubio's getting in the game now. Like I think you're seeing a lot of complementary pieces playing good football now, and we didn't see that early in the year. I think that's good coaching, right? And so I think if Jamie talked about all the things that he did on third down, I think if they were doing more of that, I think they would that would be a better group. I think the linebackers no, so that's just a no. I think the corners, it's tough. They have Benjamin Morrison playing good football, and Cam Hart had a good game yesterday. So I think the coaching there is kind of fine. And it's same thing. It's the coaching in the secondary has been what it's been. I think defensively, I think that if you can say anyone is not doing a good job, I think it would be Al Golden. Right. And actually, that's a pretty good big one because he's the defensive coordinator one. Although it's hard because they're not giving up any points. Right. Like it's they don't give up a ton of points. So my unhappiness with the defense is exacerbated by the fact that Notre Dame is never extending themselves to the point where it can mask some of the deficiencies on defense. They lost twice. They gave up 19 points against Marshall and 16 points against Stanford. They lost 2 times. Like that should not happen. Like I don't think we should feel like the defense is not a great unit, but they're fine. And it's like the comment earlier, like they should be 6-1, right? So I don't know. I on the main, like Brian Mason is obviously well coached, right? Like he's doing a great job. So I think when you boil down to it, the coach that I think is doing the worst is Golden, because he doesn't have the. I mean, I guess they do have a bunch of injuries too. I don't know. I mean, and then Reese, right? Like you have to look at what he's doing with the quarterbacks, and it's kind of like a big conversation because there's the plays that he's calling and the schemes that he's running, which I think are fine, and then the reason that we're in this position, which is also a Tommy Reese issue, right? He recruited the position, he develops the position. That position needs to be better, right? So he's responsible for that. I think the play calling piece is a little bit, I don't want to say overblown, less. I think he's doing better there than I think is conventional wisdom, but it's impacted by the fact that he's responsible for the quarterback play. Let me see. Let me go back here. Is there a fear that Marcus Freeman will leave if he doesn't have the ability to move off of assistant coaches? No. And Brian, that's from Brian Dembo. I don't think that is true. I think he can. I think he has full control over his staff, right? I think the Tommy Reese thing from last year has people thinking that he is in control of hiring positions. Because here's the thing. Jared Parker wouldn't be on the staff if Marcus Freeman couldn't make his own call, because that wasn't necessarily a Tommy Reese hire, I guess, right? I don't think that was. I think Tommy Reese would have gone in another direction, which isn't to say that Tommy Reese isn't happy with Jared Parker, but the point is, it's like that was a Marcus Freeman guy who he had worked with at Purdue, and then he brought him over. So Marcus Freeman can hire and fire whoever he wants, in my opinion. Notre Dame for life. Peyton Bowen is the game changer we need at safety. Yes, absolutely. He's a great player. Let's see. The coaches were right about not playing Pine until they had to. I have to assume they're right about Angeli. We could have lost that game yesterday. That's a good point. I agree with that. EK says they should have taken Big Mike out of the game earlier to force Pine to throw to someone else. Keep him in the game, right? I think you can keep him in the game because he opens up things for everyone else. But I agree that there was too much Michael Mayer yesterday from Drew Pine. And it's a fine line, right? You have this guy who you always want to throw it to and that sort of thing. And you feel like he's always open, he can always make a play, but it's a fine line, right? And we saw this with Michael Floyd. I remember it was 2011, 2010. You can't just hone in on one person. So it's a good comment. Keep Mike Mayer in the game. I agree with that. Brett Ramsack says the same fans that gave BK 7 years to field a somewhat consistent team isn't even giving Freeman 6 games. I don't know. I don't know that fans were giving BK really. I think it's just Brett. I think it's just a nature of being the head coach at Notre Dame, right? That's just what you're going to deal with. That's just, in my opinion, everyone will be fine. They're not happy with the product, and that's totally fair. They're 4-3 when they should be at least 6-1. So the fans are a lot of fans. Obviously, some will be over the top. I think most are just like, hey, like this can't 4-3 when you should be 6-1. We're not going to be happy about that, and I don't think they need to pretend to be happy about that. I think people need to understand, but this is also not good enough. So there's a line there as well. Let's see. Pat O'Doherty says, what about Merriweather? Seems like Reese doesn't want to play his best player. So Merriweather played 23 snaps yesterday. Let me bring this up. Some of the things, and we can talk about it as we go. Let's see. Snap counts on offense. So Diggs got I put up Diggs got the majority of the running backs. For the first time, there was clear separation. And Estime obviously dropped off because of the fumbles. But Tobias and Jaden Thomas played the same amount of snaps yesterday. So you wondered if Tobias is going to play more, where those snaps going to come from? And it looks like it came from Jaden Thomas. Both had opportunities. I think both of those players are hurt by the fact that it was a Michael Mayer kind of show from Drew Pine. So that's kind of what that was. But so Tobias got the most snaps he's gotten in a game by far. I think he doubled it. So I think that's good news, right? They got him involved, especially when he went in there and he was lined up on the wrong side and they had to move him over and then motion him again. So and they still put him back out there. So that's good news. And I'll come back to that later. We gotta stop like worrying about the portal every time. Tobias is not going to the portal. That's not true. Yeah, Sage and Park said it. No way Tobias runs to the portal. Playing opportunities wide open. He'll be the wide receiver one middle of next year, if not sooner. Agree. It's a good comment. Brett, Brian Gearmack, is Tommy Reese OC next year or Charlie West Jr.? I'll say neither. That's my opinion right now. I think Tommy Reese wants to explore, I guess. I think he's very ambitious. He wants to explore. I can see him coming back. I can see it. If I had to predict right now, I would say not. Notre Dame for life. Will Notre Dame take a portal quarterback this offseason? I would say yes. I think they have to. Honestly. Buckner has not been healthy. Pine has not given them reason to believe that this is going to be his job. So I think they have to. I think they have to take a portal quarterback, at least try. Let's see, John Triana. I was disappointed to see our defense let UNLV maintain an offensive rhythm for the majority of the second half. I agree with that. That's true. That wasn't my favorite part. And, it kind of got to the point where the pressure stopped. I think Al Golden started to get a little bit more vanilla as well. And then they started to give up some throws. And they gave up another explosive run too, which was Freeman talked about giving up the edge. That was a Nana thing. Nana has to seal the edge and make the back cut inside. And that's where all the help is. And if he had done that, then you have scraping linebackers who would have gotten to the play. He gets outside, and now the leverage is all messed up. So that was disappointing. I thought the way that defense played in the second half there was not. They're not going to be happy with that, and that's going to be a tough film session for them. But again, in the first half, they were pretty lights out. So hard to really get on them, but I agree it was not great this in the second half, especially kind of the fourth quarter. Hold on. The comments. There we go. Reese is by far the worst. Okay. All right. So we're down there. Let's put up some PFF stuff, which I get it. All right. PFF, can't always trust it. I'm going to put it up anyway because it's something to talk about. Top 5 graded players on offense. Michael Mayer, obviously 1. Drew Pine, 2. Don't get that. That's weird. Blake Fisher, Joe Alt, Braden Lindsey. Pine, obviously a head scratcher. It's weird. You have a 50% passer missing a ton of throws. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how they. And I thought the grades yesterday were weird. I mentioned the Ben Morrison thing where the guy's 2 of 6 and he's got a crazy low NFL passer rating against, and he's the worst graded defender. I don't get it. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But whatever. This is what it is. We obviously will not agree. Let's comment. Ed, I'm going to get to that comment in just a second. All right, let's go to the defense here. Clarence Lewis, 87.6. Tariq Bracy, 81.9. Maris Leofow, number 3, 78.8. Riley Mills, 77.1. Cam Hart, 75.1. I thought Cam Hart played a good game. They were 1 and 2 against for like 4 yards. So that's basically nothing. That's a good performance from him. Bracey had the breakup on the first play of the game, which was nice to see. Notre Dame didn't have another one for the rest of the game, or at least from the corners. Clarence Lewis is weird. So he was 3 of 3 against for 34 yards. He didn't give up anything big or anything. That's not like a huge deal. But like no breakups. He did have the forced fumble and the fumble recovery, which is great. Like that's a really good play. So good job on him. But his coverage grade was really high, which I didn't get. Right. That's kind of like a weird, like I don't understand the grading piece. And I thought Ben Morrison. So Cam Hart played, I think 62 or 60 of the 62 plays. Ben Morrison played 59. So those are the corners. I mean, that's how Notre Dame sees it. And that's kind of how they do. Drew Pine. To me, this is the whole thing. Right. And this is if you get clean pockets, I'm going to put it like this so it's easier for people to see. Drew Pine worked from a clean pocket on 28 of 31 pass attempts, 14 of 26 for 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. And one of those touchdowns is the flip pass to Lindsey. It's not even really a pass. It's just flipping it. It's basically a run play that gets credit for passing stats. But so the last 2 weeks from a clean pocket, he's 25 of 48, 52%, 340 yards, 7.1 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. If you're getting clean pockets, you cannot be a 52% passer. That is just, it can't be that way. You have to do better from a clean pocket. And in the other part, did I put the play action stuff? Yeah. So on play action, Drew Pine was 4 of 5 for 71 yards, 14.2 yards per attempt, 118 passer rating, straight dropbacks, 10 of 23 for 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 73.5 passer rating. And I said, I don't get it. And the thing I don't get is, why aren't you doing more play action stuff? I just don't. They've been their most efficient passing play is play action. So do more of it, right? I just don't understand it. And people have in the chat, in the comments, people have been talking about the fact that balls keep getting batted down. And there's a comment here from Ed. Why does Notre Dame consistently run a 5-yard hitch on 3rd and 7? I mean, first of all, you can layer passing. So like you can throw a shorter route, but there's something deeper behind it that you need to look for, right? And that's what Pine's not doing. You need to look for the deeper route, because those are the ones that are breaking open, right? You throw short, you layer a passing game to where someone short, someone mid, and someone deep. Hit the mid player, right, who's breaking open. And I've seen that a bunch in the past couple of games, and he's just not getting there in his progression. It's like, oh, I'm going to throw the short route. He doesn't need to do that. The other part is, Notre Dame runs a ton on 3rd down. They're running a ton of, 5 yards in turn with Drew Pine standing in the middle of the pocket. And as the play's happening, he's going to throw the ball. And I'm thinking to myself, this is getting batted down. It's getting batted down. And that's exactly what happened. When you run the shorter routes and the line is not going to get upfield, they're going to be standing there and they're all going to put their arms up. Because they don't have time to get to the quarterback. They're all putting their arms up, and he's standing right in the middle of all of it. So, and the shorter route is going to have a lower trajectory, right? You're not going to get the ball up and over. So, I don't know. It's frustrating to watch. It's frustrating when you feel like, as the play's happening, you feel like I don't feel good about this. This is not going to work, and it doesn't. So, but then at the same time, like the plays are there. Right. It's not like they're not. If the pass gets past the line, it's a wide open player. So I don't know. It's just it's difficult. And I think this is one of those things where everyone watching is thinking the same thing and everyone's kind of right. Sometimes conventional wisdom is not right. And in this case, I believe it is. So, Chris, If you're a wide receiver recruit or transfer, why would you want to play in this offense when the OC calls almost 20 straight or more run plays? Only Notre Dame can make a lopsided win feel like a loss. I would say Notre Dame can take an offense, a lopsided win, and be dissatisfied. It doesn't feel like a loss to me. Believe me, we know what losses feel like. Doesn't feel like this. But I think if you're a wide receiver recruit, it's pretty easy to see kind of what's happening, and why it's happening. You could make the case that, like, why would they have faith that it's going to get fixed? Because it's kind of been like this for a bit. But like, if you look at the tape, you got wide receivers running free all over the place. And so I would feel fine about, playing for an offense where you have, I can get open, right? I think they're able to get open. It's just, they don't have the, they just don't have the guy at quarterback right now. Can we run a slant? Is it too sophisticated? Shake my head. Yeah, I want to feel like they did run a slant. Did Lindsey catch a slant? Maybe it was last week. I feel like he caught a slant last week. It would be nice. I will say it will be nice. But those get batted down too. So that's tough. Let's see. Sajin Park. I'm a Seahawks fan. Trust me, slants over the middle from a short quarterback to work out. So that's a great comment. That's a great comment. So yeah, it's like what I said. Slants get knocked down. That's what happens, and you got people jumping routes and that sort of thing. So let's see. I already did those snap counts, so we can get that off the feed. Drunk Vigo, you gotta settle down. Settle down, man. You're kind of emoting in the chat. Noodle arm and stuff. You gotta settle down. That's my opinion. Okay. I'll put up. I want to put up comments, but like, you're just kind of complaining, and that's not fun for people, right? People don't want to see that. All right, let me see. Let's go to put some stats. Courtesy of the great Matt Freeman. Thank you, Matt, for putting this on the Irish Sports Daily website. All right, here we go. So yeah, Drew Pine, 14 of 28, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, which is really 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It's a run play. Logan Diggs, 28 for 130. That's nice. Here's the other thing too, is the offensive line, right? So you look for the rushing yards, and 223 rushing yards, and yards per carry 4.7, right? And you think to yourself, well, that's okay, right? 223 against 223 yards against UNLV. That's fine, I guess. 4.7 yards per carry, like, that's okay. The thing that we have to keep in mind, though, in my opinion, is the long run in this game is 16 yards from Diggs, 21 yards for Drew Pine. Drew Pine, long run of the game. Tyree 8, and Audric Estime 12. Notre Dame's not getting anything explosive out of their running game. And I think that is the nature of the backs. Tyree is not the type of guy who's going to sift through traffic and break out in the open, right? He's not really been that way. He needs Tyree to be an explosive player. He needs Buckner, because he needs safeties paying attention to Buckner. He needs linebackers paying attention to Buckner, or any running quarterback. And so Notre Dame's not getting those explosive runs. And so to actually have 223 yards on 4.7 a carry when you're going heavy and just running at them, it's actually really good. That's good output from the offensive line. So I give them credit for that. Mayer, 6 catches for 115, 12 targets though. 50% to Michael Mayer is not very efficient. Braden Lindsey, 4 of 5 targets. Jaden Thomas, 2 of 2. Lorenzo Styles, 2 of 4. And he's dropping passes, man. And I don't know. I don't know what that's about. But he's putting the ball. He's putting the ball. I said put it on the ground, I guess. He's not hauling it in. He's got 4 drops on the year, which is he's the only wide receiver who's dropping passes. So Lath Griffin, we need to recruit, develop quarterbacks better. I heard Tennessee quarterback Hooker was interested in Notre Dame. So here's the thing, Lath. And this is the problem, or a problem, and something that we need to grapple with, right? Would Hendon Hooker be doing this at Notre Dame? What he's doing at Tennessee, would he be doing it at Notre Dame? And that's the thing that we need to think about, that Marcus Freeman needs to think about. Would Aaron, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if it's a man or a woman. That's just true, right? And I don't want to assume, right? But it was when I said it, I was like, I don't know if that's a good thing. But anyway, so going back to Lath, would he be doing it at Notre Dame? I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know, and that's the thing I'm concerned about. Is what would Hooker be doing this at Notre Dame? And I feel like not. Now it's a different kind of offense. Like I do think he would be a better option. Like frankly, if Hendon Hooker was at Notre Dame, I think they could be, given the way the defense played against Ohio State, and it's kind of hard. Like we always say, 6-1. A good quarterback play wins the game in Columbus, right? They gave up 21 points. I think they could have. Ohio State was kind of there to be had for second and third quarter, and Notre Dame couldn't. Now, granted, if Notre Dame starts scoring, does Ohio State then pick it up? Like, I don't know. They have a very good offense. But the point is I don't know that Notre Dame can really get this kind of quarterback play from, like, it's not going to look like what it is at Tennessee. And that's just true. Would he be allowed? See, I don't think it's a question of allowed. Like, I think, Brian, I think he would be allowed. I don't think that's the thing. I think it's just more of a, it's just more of a, can Tommy Rees get him playing to that level, right? And that's an open question. Let's see, Chris, the tight end sneak is the most Notre Dame thing ever. Do you see a program whose identity is O-line, tight end base, competing in this current era? Most powerful, utilize their skill, talent more effective. First of all, Chris, how dare you? How dare you? That was my idea. I wanted them to do the tight end sneak because look, first of all, the NFL did this. The Chiefs did it with Kelsey or someone. They bring him in and they do quarterback sneak with the tight end. I think it's a great idea. Why not? If you have 4 yards, if you have a 1 yard gain, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and you want to sneak it, use a big guy. Don't use Drew Pine. He's too small, right? Like use huge Mitchell Evans to do it, who was a former quarterback in high school. I will not. I will not allow the slander of the beautiful tight end sneak. That was my great idea against some team. I don't remember which team it was. I don't want to get into Phil Dracovic. Okay, Chris, good. Chris says he loves the tight end sneak. All right, fair deal. It's a fair deal. All right. So Brian, I don't want to get in too much on the Phil Dracovic thing. I think he's overrated. I don't want to get into it too much because it doesn't really matter, but I don't know. I don't think a lot about him. And I don't think this team, I mean, maybe they would be like, I mean, I guess you could say they'd be 6-1 with him, but I don't know. I don't think he's any great shakes, I guess. I mean, he hasn't been very good this year. And maybe you can play in the offensive line or whatever, but he hasn't been very good. Let's see. This D and Al Golden should be given loads of credit. Some predictable blitzes and not so many turnovers, but man, they have held their own against UNC on down. It's a fair point, Andrew. Fair point that they have. I think there's a lot of things. I think there's a lot of things we're unhappy with the defense because they have been put under a different microscope because the offense hasn't been able to do their job. Definitely been good enough. They've been good enough just to be 7-0, to be frank about it. Okay. You're giving up around 21 points a game. That should be good enough in college football, right? That's, they're used to giving up, I think 18 or 19. So you're +2 on that. And part of that too is the 26 that they gave up because of the pick 6 against Marshall, right? So without that, you're probably looking at 20 points a game. 19 points a game, which is around what they've been for the last few years. So yeah, I agree. We kind of, it's everything with them. I don't want to say nitpicky, but it's magnified because if the offense was scoring 35, 36 points a game like they have, then that we're not really talking about the defense too much. They're not a huge problem. You can see over the line. All right, so let's look at some of the defensive stuff. We talked about the offense a good bit. And okay. Bertrand, 7 tackles, 5 solos, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1 breakup. Pretty good game for him. Lewis, Houston Griffith. You know what? And here's the other thing. No stats for Brandon Joseph here that I see. 10 snaps for Brandon Joseph yesterday. Which, okay. 10 snaps there. And, you know, he's returning punts, so it's not due to injury. I don't think it's that. For some reason, he wasn't a huge part of the rotation. DJ Brown, you know, he got a ton of snaps. Houston Griffith got a bunch of snaps. Xavier Watts, Ramon Henderson. Not a lot of Brandon Joseph. That's a strange one. We're gonna have to follow up with Freeman on that because it's not what I expected to see. BC got killed yesterday. Djokovic 52% passing, 1 touchdown, 220 yards. Yeah, I mean that's not, you know, it's not great. It's not great. And who was that? Wake Forest? Do they have a good defense? Should I look it up? Maybe I should look it up. Let's look it up while we're sitting here since it was brought up. Although I don't know that I want to kill a kid. We could just check. All right. So, but Brandon Joseph, I don't know about that. I don't know. That's a strange one. I did not expect to kind of see like him bleeding snaps like that. You know, it's but back to Houston Griffith. I mean, I thought he played well. He was solid. I thought he was a good tackler. I thought that he was, he's been solid in coverage all year. It's not like he's given up anything huge or anything like that. And that's part of playing. And if he's going to be a solid tackler, then yeah, put him in the game. Right. I mean, he's not making plays, but to be fair, neither was Brandon Joseph. Right. So, all right, let's see. Let's check out old Phil. The pressure. Why isn't it on here? There we go. He's under pressure 35% of the time. He's not good under pressure. 3 of 12. 3 of 12 under pressure. 15 dropbacks. Kept clean on 27 dropbacks, 17 to 26, 195 yards and 1 touchdown. So I guess that's fine. I mean, that's fine. 7.5 yards per attempt. But when he's under pressure, it's real bad. Real bad. So Notre Dame's got to put pressure on him, and they don't have a good offensive line. So, all right. I guess we could be fair to him for that. All right, let's see. Lath Griffith, do you think any of our D-line will return next year if they are draft eligible? Well, let's see. Foskey will not return. I don't think anyone expected that. And Jason Adamalola will not return. And Justin will not. I think they're just out of eligibility. I mean, Riley Mills will be back. I mean, everyone who's not Foskey and the Adamalolas, right? I think they'll all be back. So, with the exception of Jacob Lacey, obviously. Rake 54th ranked D. I guess that's fine. You know, I don't know. Yeah, Djokovic hasn't had a good year, just period. Right? I mean, that's just true. Syracuse preview question. Do you have a question, or you just? I haven't looked into Syracuse too much. I don't. Notre Dame for life. Tell me what that's in reference to, because I'm a little unclear. The one thing I want to talk about, from yesterday. So I think the broadcast is generally not good, and I don't think that's I think most people feel that way. And I was, oh, okay. We'll do that. Notre Dame for life. Me and Jamie will do that probably Thursday. That's usually what we do. We preview the games. That was weird. Okay. I'm back. We'll probably do that Thursday. So I'm back. Sorry. I clicked the the mouse thing went away. Yeah, I'm here. All right. So um we'll talk about Syracuse on Thursday. And then oh yeah, so the broadcast, that's what I was talking about. Man, those guys are not good. Because I had to drive in the second half. I had to drive to my kid's soccer game. And so we were listening listening to the game on the radio, and also I'm not watching it because I'm driving. And man, those guys, you had no idea what was going on in the play. You just no clue. I mean, it's one thing. And Notre Dame for Life says they put you to sleep. It's like if you can't watch the action, you have no idea what's going on. The only reason I knew what was happening is because you would hear, like, the crowd would make a noise, or someone would make a noise, or something like that. Man, they do not do a good job, like, just from on that point of view. And not for the fact that, like, it's just like, I don't know, man. You go from Mike Tirico to this, it's just, ugh, it's yucky. I don't like it, not one bit. And things that I don't like, the officials. Good Lord. But Drew Pine gets hit right in the head. He gets hit right in the head. The guy tells Marcus Freeman it's not helmet to helmet contact. The top of his helmet is in his face. I just don't understand. I don't get it. I mean, what's going on? Notre Dame can't. They're never getting held. They're never held in any game ever. I just don't. On the interception, the ball hits the ground. What are we doing? What's going on? It's tough, man. It's tough. I saw a question here. Okay, Brian Dembo. For the program as a whole, what needs the most improvement? That includes all aspects: recruiting, coaching, execution, etc. They need better quarterback play. That's the biggest thing. They need better quarterback play, and for the program as a whole. And Mike and Jamie talked about this a little bit on Power Hour last week. They need to figure out what they're going to do about the portal, because every single program that you see that is doing well, look at LSU, Brian Kelly, right? They've got a bunch of transfers. You need to be able to bring in transfers to solidify your roster. If you have a hole in your roster, you need to bring in transfers and solidify that stuff. Every other program does it. Look at Oregon, USC. These are top 10 teams that are held up by transfers. All of Oregon's their quarterback, their running backs, a couple wide receivers. It's just this is what college football is. The college football is in free agency, and Notre Dame is choosing not to participate on a major way. It's like, think of the NBA. You have every team has as many max slots as they want to fill, and Notre Dame chooses to just do like vet minimum stuff, right? You need to be able to be a participant in free agency if you are going to be a major competitor in college football in 2022 and going forward. That is true. They need to figure it out. And you can't be a team that doesn't participate in that and also not be a major NIL school. It can't be both. You need to be one or the other, at least, if not both of those things. So that's what I would say. That's the most improvement, honestly, and a better quarterback. But that goes into free agency as well. All right. Fundamental changes. See, Brian, I don't think that the program itself, I don't think that's true. I don't. I think they're deficient in one area specifically, and that is really holding them back, in my opinion. Okay. There's other things that you do, like there's going to be a talent influx, right? Like you look at who Marcus Freeman's bringing in. There's going to be a talent influx, especially at the skill positions. So that's that. You need to have a guy who can get them the ball. Period. Just straight up, right? You have Peyton Bowen, who I think everyone everyone's feeling a little bit better about right now. Like, he's a playmaker, right? You have a bunch of playmakers. You have the linebacker class from last year. You have the defensive class coming in this year, especially with Peyton Bowen and Micah Bell and Christian Gray. People feel very good about those guys, but you need to be able to solidify your roster with the portal. That's just true. This is a lack of this is a lack of will, right? Notre Dame just doesn't want to be that type of program. And I guess, we can debate whether or not that's correct or whatever, but that's just true. They don't want to be that type of program. There was a live free feed on YouTube of the game until the onsides, then cut it out. It got cut. Yeah, that happens. That happens a lot. All right, so I guess that's final comments. Usually I have to go about an hour. And I really have to go to the bathroom. So thank you, everyone, for joining into the show today. I had a really good time. Jamie and I will be back on Tuesday to talk about this game. We'll go over this game. And then on Thursday, we'll go over Syracuse. Go a little bit more into Syracuse because they're a better team. So that'll be a little bit more in-depth preview of that game. And if you haven't seen, the Syracuse game is at 12 kickoff, 12 Eastern time, 9 Pacific, which is bad for me, but I guess really good for the beat. Rajon, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate it. If this is your first time tuning into the show, hit the subscribe button, hit your like button. We are always here. After the game, the morning after at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. We'll be back on the post-game show, of course, on the instant reaction after the Syracuse game. So you're going to want to check out that. Jamie and I will be recording on Tuesday and Thursday. That is a 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, 8:30 Pacific time. We are every Tuesday and Thursday. So you want to check that out. Please subscribe, like, join in on the show, right? Be a part of the show. We love it when people are a part of the show. It makes it fun for us. And we love to go back and forth, and fans give us topics and that sort of thing. It's a lot of fun. So, again, I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much. Go to irishsportsdaily.com and check out all the content from the game, interviews, quotes, and all those things, game stories. Jamie's got a good wrap-up on the site right now. So, everyone, have a great Sunday. We will talk to you on Tuesday.